Hey, Comeback Game Tribe. Barry here, back with another episode of the Comeback Game podcast. And today I've got Ray Edwards, who's a communication strategist, copywriter, and the author of How to Write Copy That Sells. His podcast, The Ray Edwards Show, is consistently one of the top-rated shows on iTunes and has been downloaded over 1 million times. Ray has worked on copy and marketing with some of the most powerful voices in leadership and business. He's helped generate an estimated $300 million in revenue for clients like Tony Robbins, Michael Hyatt, Dan Miller, Jeff Goins, Jack Corfield, Frank Kern, and many, many more. He's been featured in Forbes.com, socialmediaexaminer.com, and also Entrepreneur. Ray, how you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Mate, so grateful you could be here. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Spokane, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S.
Spokane, Washington, and the time there is?
It is currently 2:09 p.m.
2:09 p.m. Fantastic. Well, mate, I'm calling in from Melbourne, Australia this morning. It's 7:09 a.m. here, and we're just getting started. I'd love for the viewers and the listeners out there who may not have experienced you before or may not have heard about you or your podcast, just to share a little bit more about yourself and your background and where you come from.
Well, as you said, I'm a communication strategist and copywriter. I started out in the radio business, which I did for 30 years, started when I was 14 years old. I was a disc jockey. And my main job in radio was marketing and writing ads for the clients of the radio station. So I've written thousands of ads and also marketed the stations themselves to the audience. So my job was to grow the audience and then to grow the businesses of the people who were the clients of the radio station, the advertisers. So I did that for 30 plus years. And then this thing called the internet came along. And radio was in trouble because suddenly you had 1,000 songs in your pocket with no commercials and no annoying DJs. So I knew I was going to be out of a job soon. And I realized that the skills I had in writing copy and coming up with campaigns and promotions were transferable to the online world. And so I started writing copy for people there. And I got lucky enough or fortunate enough or divine intervention stepped into my life. And I got connected with people like Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield. Alex Mondosian was the first person who really connected me to Jack Canfield. And then it's kind of like a spider web of going from one person to the next. Jack Canfield connected me to Mark Victor Hansen, who connected me to Tony Robbins' office, and it just goes on from there. It's interesting to look back over time and see how those connections add up over time, and you begin to know people who know people who know people. And my business is mostly referral now. It's word of mouth and referrals.
Yeah, well, they say often that it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And I imagine that it's not only who you know, but also what you know to be working with some of the incredible leaders like you have.
Well, it's true. That's both things are true. I think it's also important who knows you. So that's an important part of the picture. So that's why I wrote a book, actually, so people would get to know me and get to know my work. And that if you have a business and you haven't written a book yet, I highly recommend it because it immediately establishes you as an expert, and people will call your office asking you for your advice. I get calls every week for people who want me to write copy for them. I don't do that for individuals anymore, but I do get lots of calls because of that book, which continues to sell copies every week.
Wow, fantastic. So if we rewind 30 plus years, where did it all start for you? Like, how did you first get into the field that you're in now?
Well, I was in radio, and it really started when I was a child. I used to read these newspapers my grandparents had at their house. I thought they were newspapers. They were really tabloids, like the Weekly World News and the National Enquirer. And they had these great one whole page articles that were really ads written by a guy named Eugene Schwartz, who's one of the greatest copywriters to ever live.
Yeah.
I thought they were actually stories. I was fascinated by them. And I found out later they were ads, and they were written by this guy named Eugene Schwartz. I found that out from Jay Abraham, who I discovered through listening to Tony Robbins. It's interesting how things come full circle, because I was a fan of Tony Robbins before I ever dreamed of writing copy for him. And I heard him talk to this guy named Jay Abraham, who's a marketing genius. I'm sure people have probably heard of Jay.
Yeah.
And I bought the first educational product I bought of this kind was Jay's book. It's a $300 book known as the Mr. X book. And I remember my wife saying, "You spent $300 for what?" And that led me on a journey of discovering Claude Hopkins and John Caples and David Ogilvy and all the great copywriting and direct response marketing people of the past. And I began using that information and those skills of writing copy for the radio business, which helped me to excel there. And then when radio began to decline because of the internet, I just transferred those skills back to the online world, which really it's kind of a renaissance of direct response marketing, because it all started in the mailbox and now it's all back in the inbox. So it's funny, it's come full circle.
I feel it's even got even more full circle than that. Like I'm noticing these days that a lot of people are going back to direct response in your mailbox, because obviously the inbox. I don't know about you, but my partner's got 40-odd thousand unread emails in her inbox. Don't know how she can cope with that, but a lot of people are just not reading emails like they used to. So obviously the Facebook Messenger bots are a big thing, but I'm also noticing that people have gone back to direct response directly to someone's mailbox as well.
That's right, because the response rates are through the roof because hardly anybody's doing it. It costs money. It doesn't cost any money to send email. So it seems. It really does in the long run because it's so ineffective now.
Mm.
But yeah, direct response, showing up in somebody's physical mailbox is a smart move these days.
Mm. And I guess what I notice is that we've never been in an easier time to grow a business. And at the same time, too, it's never been a more challenging time. It's easy because the access we've got the internet, and obviously, back when you very first started, you couldn't test copy on the internet. You couldn't test the copy for a cent on a dollar out to an audience to work out whether it's going to convert or not before printing out 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 flyers, which you've got that ability to do today. But also there's never been more challenging time because you've got people that can connect with us all around the world. So the competition's fierce as well.
Well, it is. And it's kind of like the Charles Dickens line. It's the best of times and it's the worst of times for the reasons you just named. But in the old days, it's still much better than it was then because you could go completely bankrupt with one promotion testing a product in the old days. And now you can reiterate time after time until you get it right before you scale up and spend a lot of money. So if you're smart about how you do your marketing online, it really is the best of times, regardless of challenges.
I remember one of our early episodes, we actually had Bon Halbert, Gary Halbert's son, on the podcast.
Yeah, I know Bond.
Was that, sorry?
I know Bond.
Yeah. And he shared around how back in the day he remembers, getting home from school and spending all night taking checks to the local bank to get cashed. His dad had obviously, Gary Halbert, one of the greatest direct response copywriters of all time, landed the coat of arms letter that literally made millions of dollars to the point that they couldn't keep up with cashing all the checks in.
Yeah, what's funny is I remember when our family received that coat of arms letter and we bought the package they were selling. Talk about full circle.
Oh, so tell me then, Ray, I guess in true comeback game spirit, let's dive in a little bit to some of the challenges that you've had to overcome, what you've been through in your last 30 plus years of being in business. Because what we know, what I certainly know, and I'm sure you'll probably agree, is that the challenges and the adversities we go through in life often provide us with the greatest blessings and the greatest opportunities to grow, if we can see them that way. So what have been some of the things that you've overcome or you've been through or you've seen people go through in the past 30 years of being in business?
Well, I'll talk about a couple of things that I noticed that I think are probably fairly common, and there are things we can learn from. Tony Robbins says, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I think that's largely a decision we make. We can decide that it happens to us, or we can decide it happens for us. I prefer the latter. I got fired one time in my life. I moved my family 3,000 miles across the U.S. to a new city. We were there for 3 months and I was fired, not through any fault of my own. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances. And the fact that people who fired me helped me get a job a year later. So there's no hard feelings there, but it was, I did not see it as a blessing at the time. I saw it as a disaster because we just moved across country. We had no family where we were. We had no money. But it gave me a summer with my family in the national parks in Utah, where we went to Arches National Park, Dinosaur Monument National Park. And I had nothing to do except send out resumes and then go hiking and camping with my son and my wife. If I hadn't been fired, I never would have had those memories. I never would have had that time. It's one of the best times of my life. One of the best memories I have is all that time we spent together. And it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been fired, if I hadn't been through that so-called disaster. That's an example of, just about every entrepreneur I know has a story of having been fired, and usually they have a story of having gone bust, having had a business tank and go under. I haven't had that happen so far, and I plan to avoid it. But the biggest challenge I've had, really, most people who know me are familiar with the fact that I'm about to take a couple pills. I have Parkinson's disease. And this wasn't planned. It's just I got here too late to take them before the interview started. But that is a difficult thing to deal with in many ways. And I got the diagnosis about 8 years ago, and it's a movement disorder, so it causes you to shake uncontrollably, and eventually people become wheelchair bound. Some people do. Michael J. Fox is probably the most famous person people know of who has the disease, and so it can be very difficult. And when I was diagnosed, the doctor who diagnosed me basically told me, "You got about 7 years. You'll be in a wheelchair. You won't be able to do stuff on your own. You need to start thinking about what you're going to do when you're done working." And I just didn't accept that as the verdict that I was going to live with. So I did get depressed for a while, and I had to come to terms with my faith. Like, how could God let this happen to me was one of the first questions that I asked. I think it's a natural thing that lots of people go through this kind of thing when they have a diagnosis or an accident or they lose somebody they love. And I think in those clutch key moments, we have a decision to make about how we're going to interpret what's happened to us. Yeah. And if we decide to play the part of a victim, whether it's getting fired or getting a diagnosis or a marriage that falls apart or a business that goes under, we can either decide to play the part of a victim, which feels good a little bit because it's like we're powerless and we're helpless and we get lots of attention and sympathy, but that eventually gets old and people don't like to hang around victims. Mm-hmm. They may not say that to your face, but they get tired of hearing your victim story. And so I decided I was not going to be a victim. I was going to be a victor. And I was going to take whatever hand I was dealt in life and figure out how to make it an advantage. And it's not always easy, but because of this, now, trust me when I say I'd be rid of it in a moment if I could. If there was an operation or a pill that could cure it, which there isn't, it's incurable so far. But if there were, I would take it. However, because of this, I've become more compassionate. I've become more patient. I've become more aware of what really matters in life, what's really important. I've also become more aware of how important our work is. Because the work we do, whatever that work is, whatever business we are involved in, serves other people, or else we wouldn't be in that business. They wouldn't pay us money to do what we do. So we're giving value to people. And I take that as an honorable thing to do, no matter what work you do, whether you're an auto mechanic or a copywriter or a marketer or an investment banker, whatever work you do is honorable and good. And you should do it, as the ancient book of wisdom says, you should do it as if you're doing it unto the Lord, not just unto people. And what that means is it means doing it with honor, with excellence, and looking at the divinity in other people and saying, okay, I'm serving you the best way I know how. And those are attitudes that I did not have before I got this diagnosis, before I had to come to terms with what's important in life. So that is definitely an adversity that has turned into a real advantage for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And like, I really love what you shared, which is that, you have a decision of how you're going to allow that to shape your life. As many of us know, some things happen to us or perceivably happen to us in life that we don't have control. And I think this is the interesting thing, is that a lot of people walk through life believing that they control their destiny or believing that they control their life until something like that happens and you just realize that you're part of a much bigger plan. And at that point in time, you mentioned that you have the ability to make a decision. How is this going to affect my life moving forward? Because at the moment, that's not something you can change, right? You can obviously do things to make your life a little bit easier, but you said at the moment, there's obviously no cure for that.
Right.
So moving forward, you could decide, is this going to control me? Is this going to destroy me? Is this going to allow me to play the victim? Or is this going to allow, am I going to find a way that this can empower me and become the victor in this? And I think that's an important choice that we all have when we go through challenges and adversities. Yet I see so many business owners and entrepreneurs, they get stuck. They go into business with some sort of a false pretense of what being in business is going to look like for them. And they get to that first time when they can't pay their staff, or when they get lumped with an unexpected tax bill, or, their biggest client leaves them, or somebody, goes bankrupt and falls out owing them a few $100,000.
I've had all those things.
and for many people, they actually allow that to take them down. They allow that to be the reason, the excuse, the decision that business or life or insert whatever it is here is too hard. Our relationships are too hard. Business is too hard. Yeah, yep. As you said yourself, when you got fired, you can see back now, that was one of the best things that ever happened to you.
Yes.
Right? Yet at the time, you didn't know that.
So now I've learned to look for it in the moment, not wait for 10 years to pass to look back on it. And I was listening to Jim Rohn this morning, a recording of his. I really like that guy's work. And he was talking about why some people never succeed. And he used to really get worked up about that and try to figure them out, try to fix them. And he said, finally, I just decided to take the simple view. It's because they're the kind of people who don't succeed. And he said, some people are always complaining and mocking and laughing and being cynical. And he said, he used to try to figure out how I could help them not be that way. And then I finally figured out, well, they're the cynical, mocking, laughing kind of people. That's how they are. And so there are people who, whether they realize it or not, they've decided they're going to be victims because they get some ancillary benefit from that. They get sympathy, they get attention, they get significance, they get to tell their story of how important they are because these terrible things keep happening to them. But I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person who finds the victory in being victimized, who finds triumph out of tragedy. That's the story I want my life to represent. And we can all do that. We all have a choice to decide what everything that happens. I mean, things happen to us, circumstances happen, and we have a choice to make. What does this mean, and what should I do about it? And Aristotle wrote, our circumstances do not define us. Our actions do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Circumstances don't define us, our actions do. Yeah, so true. And, I say time and time again, I remember having these moments in my life where I'm like, man, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Yet now I can't remember what any of those things were. Yet those challenges, those adversities, those things that like brought me down to my knees, without a doubt, I can still remember what they are, every single one of them, and how I've grown from that. I think Tony Robbins said that your life is represented by the quality of questions you're willing to ask. So, rather than why me or why is this happening to me, is what's the purpose in this? What am I here to learn?
Right. How can I use this?
Sorry.
We were asking the same question. How can I use this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a great question because there's always an answer to that. Your brain will always answer the questions you ask it. So if you ask it, why does this stuff keep happening to me? Guess what it'll do? It'll supply you with reasons why this stuff keeps happening to you, and it'll keep happening.
It moves into justification and validation of why this keeps happening. Why is one of the lowest form questions we can ask ourselves.
Agreed.
Yet, as you said, when we ask, like, how can I use this? It presupposes that there's something there to be used, and our brain has to find a solution. Our brain doesn't like those open loops. It has to find a reason or a loop why this is useful.
Right. Have you ever known somebody who one disaster after another keeps happening to them over and over again? They have nothing but problems all their life. You ever known somebody like that?
Yeah.
So in the same vein as what Jim Rohn was sharing this morning when I was listening to that recording, he was talking with someone like that. And they asked him the question, why does this stuff keep happening to me? And he said, all I can figure is you're the kind of person this stuff keeps happening to. And that wasn't satisfactory for that person, but it's illustrative to us that the way we evaluate what happens to us tends to be, that's the map we've made of the world, and that's what we'll keep seeing, and we tend to discover what we keep looking for. So I keep looking for the opportunity and the adversity. I love that Ryan Holiday book, The Obstacle is the Way.
Obstacle is the way, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe there's a deep truth to that.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the obstacles and the resistance we meet in life, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't become stronger, we wouldn't learn anything. It would really be pretty boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. We just ran an event a couple of weeks ago in the Gold Coast here for our clients. And, a big part of what we're sharing is around finding the edges and leaning into them, finding where things are a bit uncomfortable and leaning into that, and actually looking for the obstacles, looking for the challenges in many ways, but not from a negative perspective, not looking at why does this keep happening to me and all the problems.
Right.
But welcoming them when they come, realizing that they're not happening to us, they're happening for us.
Right. And it's like physical exercise. It's uncomfortable, but that's where the growth comes from. And some people think it's like you're being silly, you're a positive thinker and you're not looking at reality. But I really think there's deep truth to the fact that if you can find those uncomfortable places, those adversities that some people refer to them as, and you lean into them, you become stronger, you learn more, you become wiser, you become more impervious to those things happening to you again in the future. You improve in every way if that's what you're looking for, if you can lean into it and not resist it, but go through it or over it or around it or under it or whatever you have to do to get through the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. At any given moment, we have a choice. And I think that, I'm sure people are probably going to misunderstand what I say or take it the wrong way, but ultimately the experience we're having right now, we've created. The experience of life we've had right now, not necessarily the situations, but our experience.
100%. 100% agree with you.
We've created. And so therefore, if you're in an experience right now where your finances aren't the way they want them to be, or your relationships are, and so forth, only you can change that. Only you can change your perspective of those situations.
Right. Right. Larry Wingate has a book entitled "You're Broke Because You Want to Be." It makes people angry, but if you look at it deeply, it's the truth. They made decisions based on evaluations that how they interpreted their circumstances. They made poor decisions, and they keep making them over and over again. Thus, they're broke. So they create the experience of their life.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. How have you used the experiences you've been through and the challenges that you've overcome for and towards your success?
Well, one primary way is now when I'm dealing with a client or we're holding an event where I'm helping people overcome their own challenges, nobody can say to me, well, you don't know what it's like, because they have to trump mine. And I'm sure, I don't want to get into that contest, like who's got the bigger problem. But I feel like one advantage it has given me is people are reluctant to complain about what they now realize after they learn what my circumstances. They're reluctant to complain about their relatively minor problems. I don't think any of them are more minor or more major. I really do believe it's how you interpret it and what you do with it. A good friend of mine is named Armin Morin, and I got lots of, when I finally revealed that I had this diagnosis, I kept it secret for a couple of years, but then I couldn't because it was beginning to show and people wondered what was wrong with me. So I just decided I'm just going to explain what's going on. And I got hundreds and hundreds of emails and letters and cards. Many of them were very sympathetic and, poor you, and it's a tragedy. And I really resisted accepting any of that sentiment. I mean, I accepted the good-hearted feelings they were trying to give me, but not the sentiments they were trying to express. But Armin Morin simply sent me an email that said, well, you got it. Now what are you going to do with it? I love that. I saved that message because it is the message, isn't it? Whatever it is that you're dealing with, you've got it. Now, what are you going to make of it? Yeah.
Gotta love that.
Yep. And I gotta love having a friend who's courageous enough to say the truth in that way. That's
a true friend. Someone that's willing to say it like it is.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next for you? Like what's the vision that you have for the next 5-10 years for yourself?
Well, I'm building a team of people who are now, instead of just me teaching how to write copy and how to market your business, we're building a whole company where we have educational programs where other people are doing the teaching and training, and they're running workshops. This is another great thing that's happened to me because of this. If I hadn't had this diagnosis, I probably still would be doing it all myself, because I was like many entrepreneurs. I was a lone wolf. It was like, this is my thing. I built it up. It's my baby. Well, I've been forced to realize, well, no, it's not. And you got to do something about that quickly. So I'm building an organization. So my business is bigger than I ever hoped it would be. And it's going to be bigger still in 10 years from now. So we're looking at having a worldwide educational program and coaching and mentoring programs, things I never would have dreamed of before I had to face this, quote, adversity that has taught me so much. And again, I would be rid of it in a heartbeat if I could be, but I would not give up the experiences that it has caused me not the experiences, the revelations that it's given me, the insight it's given me, the ability to think through what once seemed like a problem or adversity and realize there's an advantage truly is the heart of it. I wouldn't change any of that for being blissfully ignorant anymore.
Yeah. What's the 3 best bits of advice you've ever been given?
3 best bits of advice I've ever been given.
Yeah.
Slow down to go faster. Because we get busy and we think we get activity confused with accomplishment. And usually the busier we get, the less important things we're working on. So slow down to go faster. Pay more attention to individual people. The truth is the $1 million idea or partnership or deal that you're looking for is probably in the person you're talking to right now. Like, I could be on this interview with you and we could have this conversation, that could be the end of it. Or we could choose to build a relationship over time, and who knows where that might go if we take the time to recognize that each of us has something to offer the other. So taking more time with individual people. And the third one is very boring, but boy, this is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. Start investing when you're very, very young, a regular amount of money in a good interest yielding account that grows tax deferred over time. Because the magic of compound interest and tax-free income is astonishing. And I wish I'd done that back when I was 20 years old when somebody told me to. It was some of the best financial advice I ever received, and I didn't follow it. Compound interest, baby.
So true. It seems so simple, but something a lot of people neglect. I've got two young boys, and I said to my two boys, there's three things you need to learn how to manage. I said, you need to learn how to manage your money, you need to learn how to manage your time, you need to learn how to manage people. If you learn how to manage your money, your time, and people, you'll go far in life.
Yes, you will. That's a wise father.
Thank you. So go slow to go fast. Love that. So true. Busy does not mean successful. Like I see a lot of entrepreneurs are like, "Oh, how you doing? I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Got so much stuff going on." That's not a sign of success.
No, that's a sign of poor focus and bad prioritization.
Yeah, yeah. One-on-one conversations. I love that as well. Relationship building. Um, totally agree. You know, being able to build long-term, lasting relationships. You just never know. It comes back to what we said at the start with. It's not necessarily what you know, but who you know.
And who knows you?
Yeah. And number three is invest a small amount of money regularly from a young age into a high yielding tax deferred account.
And if you haven't done that, then start today because it's the second best time to start.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, for anyone out there listening today, what would you say to them if they're going through some sort of challenge or adversity right now? What would your key bit of advice be for them?
Absolutely refuse to accept the role of a victim and look for the advantage within the adversity because I promise you there is one. And if you find it, even if you make it up, you'll be better. You'll be better off for having done it.
Yeah, there's something to be said, you know, in applying that fake it till you make it in situations like that. Because when these things happen to us in life or happen for us in life, we can choose to obviously play the victim, or we can choose to find a positive reason for them happening, even if it might not make sense to anyone else.
That's right. And we are meaning making machines. We
Yeah.
assign meaning to things that happen to us, and we have the choice. I have a shirt that I bought from Tom Bilyeu. It says, "Everything is my fault." And I wear it. It's funny, I wear it out in public, and people ask me about it sometimes. Usually they ask, "Did your wife buy you that?" And I tell them, "No, I bought it for myself." It's to remind me that I'm responsible 100% for how I respond to life. And that's a meaning that I've assigned to my life. But it gives me control that I don't have. If you try to be in control of your circumstances, you'll be frustrated and unhappy for the rest of your life because you cannot be in control of your circumstances. Not
Yeah.
100%, but you can be 100% in control of your response to those circumstances.
Yeah. I agree. I heard a line on a movie a little while ago, and I've taken it on board. And that is that the perception of reality is realer than reality itself. And I think that this is so true. The perception of reality is realer than reality itself because, you know, like you said, we're meaning making machines in a meaningless world. Like nothing has meaning other than the meaning we apply to it. And you and I could be experiencing the same situation, and I could see that as bad, as negative, as unsupportive, and you could see it as positive, as productive, as successful. And ultimately, who's right? Who's right in that given situation? You know, right and wrong doesn't exist in something like that. It's our ability to create perception. And I think there was a study that was shown that if people were to put on glasses that had a colored shade in it and wear it for long enough, we would actually trick the brain to start to believe that that's the way that life is, i.e. with a green or a red color lens. And this is what our belief systems have done to us over time, is that we've had things close to heart for so long that we haven't even questioned them anymore. Yet it's our perception of life. It's not necessarily how life is. We don't see life as life is. We see life as we are.
Absolutely. I was in a public restaurant. Okay, it was a bar when the results of the last presidential election in the U.S. were announced, and I observed three different people having three totally different reactions to the election of Donald Trump as president. One person was livid, angry, furious, couldn't believe the injustice, how terrible it was. There was another person, a group of people that were celebrating. They were jubilant. They couldn't have been happier. And there was another person who was laughing, who just thought it was comical. And I thought, isn't it interesting? It's the same experience, but they're all having it's the same facts, but they're all having three very different experiences. One's angry, one's happy, and one thinks it's funny.
Mm.
It's all depending on your perspective. What movie was that you saw?
Man, I don't know. I got no idea.
It doesn't matter. The quote's still good.
Yeah. It's true though, right?
Yeah, it
The
is.
perception of reality is realer than reality itself.
Absolutely.
It's almost like that movie with is it who was it? Was it Leonardo DiCaprio? The
Inception.
one about Inception. Yeah, the world inside the world inside the world. Whose world are we in right now?
Hmm. Are we in mine or are we in yours?
Oh,
Or are we in
or somebody
theirs?
else's.
It just got spooky.
Ray, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today, mate, and I'm so grateful that Aaron connected us. Actually, how can the Comeback Game Tribe connect with you if they want to find more about you?
The best way to do that is just go to rayedwards.com.
Yeah, and you've got a super successful podcast too, yeah?
It's been downloaded. I need to update my bio because it's been downloaded 1.8 million times now. So a lot of people have listened to it. I'll leave it to you to judge whether it's successful or not. But I'm rather fond of it.
Yeah. What do you cover? What's the angle?
Business, marketing, and meaning.
Business, marketing, meaning. Love it. Maybe the meaning's changed now.
It does. It has a tendency to do that.
Awesome. So for those who want to connect with you, rayedwards.com. They can also find the Ray Edwards Show on iTunes as well, which has been down over 1.8 million times. So I'm sure there's got to be some good stuff on there as well. Mate, I'm super grateful and privileged to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time.
The privilege is mine. Thank you.
If you're in a position that many of our clients were before joining us, which is that your business is controlling you rather than you controlling your business, we would love to have a chat to you to see whether or not we might be the right fit to partner with you to help you grow and succeed in business. And over the past 8 years, we've helped hundreds of business owners around the world to grow, scale, and succeed in business. Many of our clients report that we've helped them to triple their profits and double their time off in 12 months or less. If you jump onto YouTube and notice the hundreds of testimonies, you'd see that this is a common theme amongst them. If you're a business owner that's generating more than $300,000 a year in annual revenue, whether it's $500 million, $5 million, even $10 million a year, and you're looking to take your business and your life to the next level, we might be able to help. If you're noticing that your business is lacking structure, maybe systems or processes, maybe you're not quite attracting enough or the right type of quality leads, making enough sales, or maybe you're even having issues finding, hiring, retaining, and training the right team members, we could be a fit for you. Ultimately, we believe that we never have business problems, we have personal problems that are expressed through our business. And a lot of the work we do is with you as a business owner, helping you to constantly upgrade the way that you see life, the way that you make decisions, and the way that you help construct a profitable and purpose-driven business. In order for us to do that though, you need to book in a quick 15-minute application call with one of our scaling specialists here at the Game Changers. Through that 15-minute call, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions to see if or how we might better help you. If we can't help you, we'll let you know politely and do our best to point in the direction of someone that can. However, if we can help you, we'll look at booking you a 1-hour game plan session where we're going to dive a lot deeper into where you and your business are at right now, where it is that you want to go in the next 3, 5, and 10 years' time, and what are the potential roadblocks or challenges or even opportunities that are along the journey in order for you to get there faster. If you're really feeling that it's time for you to experience the love and the joy of running a business again, if you're really wanting to experience a business that does actually operate without you while still producing profit, we may very well be the right fit. So book in a 15-minute call, we can have a chat and see where we go from there. My name is Barry Bodidi, and thanks for listening. Hopefully we get a chance to talk soon.